Thanks for joining us on our comic book coffee break. I'm Nick Gunning.
And I'm Eric Mickles, known online as Dusk versus Tweak.
Eric, today I'm drinking a winter tea called
Hmm.
Winter Spice, the Forgotten Spice Girl.
Winter Spice was the Forgotten Spice Girl. She was
Yeah, she
the
was always the one in like the puffy coats and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, they were like, "Come on, you coming? Come on now." And she was like, "It's too cold. I'm Winter Spice."
right, yeah, the
So,
sixth Spice Girl that we tend
yeah.
to forget about. Yeah.
Are there five? My wife and I seriously the other day we were trying to name them all. And you know who we forgot?
Posh?
Baby.
Baby
Baby.
Spice?
I know. I don't even know how you do that.
I don't know either.
You forgot Baby
Yeah,
Spice.
there's five. There's
Yeah.
Scary, there's Ginger, there's Baby, there's Posh, and there's Sporty.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know which one was my favorite as a kid. Really, any
Nice.
any girls that paid attention to me were my favorite as a kid.
So which Spice Girl paid the most attention to you, I guess? That's the question.
It's probably Posh Spice.
Yeah.
I was
that makes
also a
sense.
picky child. I was like, I don't want to eat shepherd's pie. She's like, I like this one.
Yeah. Yeah. Ah,
Yeah.
magic like this is brought to you by the Radio Meanwhile Network.
You can find more about this show and others like it on our network's website, radiomeanwhile.com.
That's right. That is right.
I'm
Let's
having a
talk some
brewski.
comics.
No, it's a Coca-Cola.
Did you, are you? Coca-Cola. Does it have somebody's name on it or anything?
No, just Coca-Cola. But you know what? Somebody could be such
What?
a big fan of Coca-Cola that they named their kid Coca-Cola.
Well, first of all, I hope you had a lovely Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Second, this is my first year, I feel like Christmas-wise, where I didn't have like a glass bottle Coke. I don't even have one.
I'm sorry.
So, no, it's fine. We were just saying before we started rolling that like I got my taste of staying home with just
Mhm.
my wife and son on Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. I can't go back. I can't go back to the old
Yeah.
ways, you know?
Yeah.
I've
Honestly, I
seen
had
the
to.
light.
The problem is having to make so many phone calls that you can't just sit there and like play video games and watch movies all day. You got to take a break.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm. I made some phone calls.
I tell you
I
what,
made some phone calls.
God forbid, if anything ever happened to Kendra and I was on my own for Christmas, I think
Yeah.
people would worry about me. I'd have such a solo Christmas. It would just
Yeah.
be me by myself playing video
Yeah.
games, eating chicken and dumplings, and people being like, is he okay? He spent Christmas alone. I'm like, yeah, I did.
I think a little part of you, would be sad about that. A little part.
Mm-hmm. You never know.
Did you get any? I don't know. Did you book themed gifts for Christmas that you'd like to share?
My sister went hard on X-Men for me this Christmas.
Oh, okay.
She got me a Gambit
Yeah.
and a Rogue.
Oh,
It was
you
funny.
too.
I opened the Gambit one first. I was like, "Oh, sweet, it's Gambit. He's throwing cards. That's so fun. He's a
Yeah.
bobblehead." And then I opened
Yeah.
the second one, and it was Rogue, and that even made me even more happy.
Definitely.
And then I was like,
That's a
"'Cause
good
they're
order.
married," and then they kiss.
Yeah.
Um,
You also have a Wolverine and Sabretooth, and sometimes their tension does feel a little bit sexual.
They do kiss a little bit here anyway. In
Yeah,
this
yeah.
house.
I
In
bet they
this
do.
house, Wolverine and Sabretooth
Yeah.
kiss.
Yeah. Did you get
Um,
any actual like old school print kind of graphic novels?
No. But I did get the X-Men art and making of the animated series.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Which is a pretty hefty hardcover.
Looks like it.
It
Sure.
looks good. I haven't read into it yet. And also my sister got me. This is the Christmas one,
Oh, look at that.
but
Snicked.
I got 3 other X-Men shirts. But it's so funny. I'll have to show sometime. It's 3 different X-Men shirts. They all have Storm, and it's all the same Storm. It's
Like the
just
same stock image
the,
of
the
Storm.
same stock image of Storm, hands up, lightning coming out. The lightning and the hair are all the same. It's just like they copy paste. But it was
Wow.
very funny. Did you get any
Big- big-
graphics?
I did actually. My friend Sally got me the best of Star Trek: The Next Generation, a graphic novel collection of next gen comics.
Yeah.
The next gen comics of that era are so weird
Uh-huh.
because like a lot like the novels as well at that time, it was like there's a new Star Trek coming out. We need merch to go with it,
Mhm.
and so people were writing these things before they were really even like watching the series,
Right.
before the series was really established. So they are very weird, but it's a cool set. The one that I'm most excited about, though, I got a volume of the Simon and Kirby library, all covering their sci-fi output,
Mm-hmm.
and it's stuff from the 40s, like all the way up through the
Yeah,
60s.
Looks
So,
cool.
and I haven't I flipped through it, and there were some things that I was kind of like familiar with. I recognized, I was like, oh, okay, I know that character, but I haven't read any of them.
Yeah, you're having a Kirby sans.
I guess so.
2020's been
Yeah.
the year of Kirby for you.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah.
Mhm. You're in
I
a
think that's-
real Kirby's dreamland.
I think that's it. I don't even think I got any other like, toys or things that were superhero.
Oh, I got New Mutants on Blu-ray. My mom got
Oh,
me New
fun.
Mutants, so now I have all the X-Men movies on Blu-ray.
Nice. Okay, you got them all.
Yeah,
Cool.
finally. Yeah.
Yep.
If I trade my New Mutants to somebody right when it levels up, it will turn into an old Mutants. I was trying to do a Pokemon because you got to trade some Pokemon
Yeah. No,
between Game Boys.
I knew you were doing a Pokemon thing, but that really collapsed.
Yeah,
That
sure
really
did. Oh,
collapsed.
it will become an X-Force if I trade it to another person with a Game Boy. But I need a
That
link cable.
that Pokemon joke ended similarly to the first Wonder Woman film.
It
You
ended.
got to the end and you're
Yeah.
just like, what's happening?
Yeah, it ended
What's
similarly to
going
the
on?
X-Men franchise.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so.
Speaking of New Mutants, I'll just segue into it. I finished New Mutants Classic Volume 5.
Okay.
Gosh, how many? This goes up to issue 40.
Okay.
So as far as I know, I think we're nearing the end of Chris Claremont on the series. I don't know. It
Okay.
seems like he's on it forever. This is a weird time for the New Mutants because Magneto has taken over as the teacher. Because Professor
okay.
X is in space at the time. I'm pretty sure he's in space at the time.
Is there ever a time for the New Mutants that's not odd, though?
Yeah,
Really?
that's very true.
I mean,
But also, this collection, like these issues, take place during. Give me a second. Secret Wars 2. So the Beyonder is there, and he like kills them, but then they're back, and then Emma Frost has them join her Hellions over in Massachusetts.
okay.
And so they're not acting right. It's strange. There's a lot of different stuff. Like if I had cared enough, I could have just read all the surrounding Secret Wars 2 stuff. But I do not care that much.
Understood. So if they were all in Massachusetts, do you think it's possible that you and Emma Frost went to like the same pizza joint?
Maybe. I mean, that'd be cool. Me and Emma just.
I mean, she's kind of high class, so maybe she would have gone to like a Red Lobster or something.
You think Red Lobster is as high class as we get in Massachusetts?
I was just
It's
going
a
by
fancy
stereotypes.
date. Take me to the Red Lobster. I took you to the Red Lobster.
You look like a slob.
Forget about you. I'm
Oh
going.
my gosh. Oh, you know what?
What?
I would do anything for some of that cheesy bread right now, though.
Yeah, cheesy
No
bread
doubt.
from Red Lobster.
So good.
So this collection was kind of sloppy. It picked up at the end a little bit once Magneto. He was going after him and Warlock are going to go after the New Mutants, and the Avengers show up to fight Magneto. Emma Frost's plan is to inform the Avengers that Magneto has taken over the school and is holding them hostage and everything. So the Avengers come in and there's a big misunderstanding and Magneto beats them up. And
As he does.
I don't know what's coming next in like the volume 6 of this, but
Yeah.
we'll see. So I'm gonna keep going. I mean, this Danny Moonstar is dealing with the fact that she was a Valkyrie for a hot minute, and maybe she wants to be a Valkyrie permanently. So I'll eventually reach a part where I've read stuff because I picked up this series when I was doing my Claremont reread, so that I could read along with it becoming X-Force, and they started to cross over a lot during. They were really connected during the Extinction Agenda. So there's a few, like the last 15 issues or so, I think I read. So I'm just working my way that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, I was light on Marvel this week, but after last week, I read The Truth, that miniseries about Isaiah Bradley, the first Captain America. This week, I read The Crew, which is also by Christopher Priest, art by Joe Bennett. It was a weird collection. It starts with Rhodey like going back to this bad neighborhood where his sister was murdered and sort of looking into that.
Frick.
And each of the first issues is focusing on what?
I said frick.
Oh, yeah. So each of the first few issues is focusing on like Rhodey and then the White Tiger, and then like a few more come in, and by the end of it, we're meeting Josiah Bradley, son of Isaiah Bradley, and it starts to focus on him, and that's probably the last. Only 7 issues, and it feels to me like something where it was canceled and not intended to end at this point. I don't know if that's true, but that's what it felt like. And I'm not sure that it is collected anywhere. Did you see this? Did you find a collection when you were looking for covers?
I didn't notice if I was or not. Yeah, that's
Okay, because
interesting.
the only thing I mean, I found a listing on Goodreads, but it was looked like kind of a cobbled together one. But
Yeah.
anyway, by the time you get to the end and you're focusing on Josiah Bradley, that's kind of that's sort of a uniting force where it all kinds of comes together. And what ends up happening is like you get to a point where you're like, yeah, okay, let's follow this story, and it's the end. So
Hmm.
kind of a mixed review on that.
Yeah.
It was nice to have some follow up to the Isaiah Bradley story and have
Mm-hmm.
Josiah sort of take that mantle up and put him in the modern day.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I'm interested to see where that goes or how that character is used in future
I
stories.
don't know
Um,
if he is
oh,
because,
really?
again, Patriot, um, is the grandson of
Oh, the grandson.
Isaiah Bradley.
So that's not Josiah. I've been thinking that this character was Patriot.
No, because Patriot's a kid.
Oh, okay. No, this was more like an adult.
Yeah. So I don't know if much more happens with the son.
Huh.
Um, I can't remember even him showing up to go along with like Patriot's story. It's kind of one of those things where the kids are always there, but the parents don't show up too often.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if if there's another thing in between, or if like you were to go read the crew and then Young Avengers. So Isaiah Bradley's not really in that too much. So
Okay.
that's it.
All right.
Um,
Okay.
but,
Well, it was interesting. It
yeah.
was interesting nonetheless.
Okay. I read.
Did you finish that series that's been haunting you for weeks and weeks?
I finished The Wicked and the Divine.
Finally.
Man.
Did you ever get to the point where you liked it?
No. In fact, at the
Oh,
end, I was like, boy, I really didn't like this series. It never came
mm,
around for me.
that's sad.
Every now and then, a cliffhanger happened. I was like, well, I got to see how this plays out. But then I get to the end, I'm like, ugh, forget it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see people loving this series and it winning awards, and
Mm.
everybody at the altar of this series. And I mean, this review says it's perfect. It's a perfect ending. And I'm just like,
Mm.
what am I missing? And you know what's, I'm not even interested in finding out what I'm missing. I didn't
Right.
enjoy this so much. I don't want to know what's interesting about this series. I just had a bad time reading this whole thing. 45 issues. The previous volume was all like side stories. Every now and then it does something which I kind of like, where it shows them throughout history, and that I can kind of get into. But then we get into the present stuff, and I'm just like, oh man, that's right, I don't care. I guess it's just not once did I care about a single one of these characters, or really
But you
have
stuck with it,
but
and
I
that's what's
stuck with
important.
it. I don't know why. This has been weird. There are series I've liked that have taken me almost a decade to finish, and somehow I
Yeah.
cruised through The Wicked and Divine the entire
Yeah,
time I
you
didn't
did it.
like it. They
Is that out of necessity though? Is that more just like that's what you had access to?
No, I mean it. I was talking about it when I finished Invincible. How long had the final volume of Invincible been out
Yeah, that's
before
true.
I read it? And yet, The Wicked and the
Yeah.
Divine, I'm like in my car. I'm like, well, this will be my lunch break read. What? It's weird. I don't know. I can't tell you what this was. I don't know. I can't tell you anything about it. I just know that I didn't like it. It's by Kieran Gillen, Jamie McClevely. I didn't have a good time. I never want to read this again. And don't try to tell me why I'm wrong, because I don't care.
Okay. All right.
I have no room in my heart for this series anymore.
Well, and this was 9 volumes, is that right?
Yeah.
Holy crap. That is commitment.
Yeah.
That's some serious commitment right
Mhm.
there.
Well-
I've done where like I stopped reading a series and then like years later, I think with the app actually, when I got the app, there was series that I started years and years ago, and then I was like, oh, there's only 30 more issues. I should just round that out.
Mm-hmm.
So I've like gone back and filled in gaps, but to start a series and hate it and then read the subsequent 8 volumes, I don't think that I've ever really done that.
It's part of that.
So good for you.
It's part of that stupid sense of having to be a well-rounded comic book reader. Like I have to read
Get it?
the things that people are talking about and doing. I don't want to be out of the loop or out of the conversation.
Mhm.
And then I read it and I'm like, well, then I'm no good in this conversation. If somebody starts
Yeah.
talking about like, did you read The Wicked and the Divine? It was great. I'd be have to like, you know what? I just realized my fridge is in the parking lot and I left the lights on. So it's a wacky
No,
situation.
you don't have to. It is a wacky
Yeah.
situation. I don't know if this counts as being well-rounded, but I did read a collection of original superheroes called Powers in Action by Art Baltazar. This was actually a Christmas gift that my son got,
Uh-huh. And
and
you
I've
read
been
it and
mentioning in the
your
past.
son.
I did. I no, it is. It really. This actually was his,
You
but he
don't
read
have
it
a
and wanted
kid.
to. I read. But so my son's a big fan of Art Baltazar's art, and so he
Right.
likes Tiny Titans. He likes
Mm-hmm.
Superman Family, Shazam,
Right.
Family Adventures, all that stuff. He's read all of those. And really, I mean, we've gotten to the point where he has read them all and most of them multiple times. So I found this and put it on his Christmas wish list, and
Mm-hmm.
he got it. And what it is, Art Baltazar took he wrote comics when he was a kid, like wrote
Uh-huh.
and drew comics when he was a little kid, and he was finally in a place where he could like really do those right and publish them. So this is like a group of superheroes that he was writing comic books for just for himself, like as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And so in between each of the finished like full issues, he has covers and panels that he just like hand drew as a
As a kid. That's
child.
fun.
And so it was really cool to see like what things stayed the same
Mm-hmm.
and what things changed, because his style, if you're not familiar with it, it's heavy lines, it's
Yeah.
very cartoonish, but it's very cohesive. Like
Yeah.
you would never see it and be like, I wonder who did that. Um, so it was nice for my son, just because with Tiny Titans or Superman Family Adventures, he knows those characters, and so it's not hard to get him to
Mm-hmm.
want to read that kind of stuff because he recognizes the characters.
Right.
This was all new characters,
Right.
but the art was so familiar to him that he just devoured it, so it
Right.
worked really well.
Nice.
I would probably have rated this higher if it had a volume two,
Ah.
but as far as I can tell, it's
It's
just
a
these
Super
four
Dinosaur
issues.
4 all over again.
It is. I know. It's just these four issues, and they end on a cliffhanger. So,
Man.
but I would have read more. So I
Yeah.
guess that's the compliment right there. I would have read more.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked it. I liked it. If you like the other stuff, you'll probably enjoy this too. And it was fun to see some original heroes. And I did really appreciate the juxtaposition of like his childhood drawings with his like
Right.
finished,
Yeah.
polished
That's
art
fun.
that he does as a professional artist. So that was a neat one.
All right. So I started The Wicked and the Divine by Karen Gillian this week. I'm gonna read the whole series again
No,
and try to figure out
no,
what I missed.
Eric.
No, I did read I did read another Karen Gillian thing because I'm like I liked what I've read of his before. So what's missing? So I read Once and Future.
Okay.
This is the first 6 issues. It's volume 1. The King is Undead. So it's
Okay.
Karen Gillian. The art is Dan Mora, and I really like Dan Mora's art in this.
Okay.
A bit cartoony. Reminds me, there's an artist I really like right now who's been working on the X-Men for a bit. Reminds me of that. Just it's very colorful, kind of stylized. Maybe a little bit like Joe. Oh, what's his name? Joe Murat. Oh, he used to be an older X-Men one. He did the. It reminds me a bit of the Dark Side, not Dark Side, Darksiders video games art. I'm terrible. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, it's basically these British nationalists are
Do you
trying.
mean Joe Madeira?
Yes, it reminds me a bit of Joe Madeira a little bit. Take away like the anime influence, I think.
Okay. Okay.
But it's some British nationalists are out to bring back King Arthur, except King
Okay.
Arthur is like this undead monster.
Oh,
Like
wow. Okay.
for him, it's you have to be British. No Anglo-Saxon. If he finds out that you have like Saxon blood in you, your head is gone. So
Okay.
it's like extreme. And so this kind of geeky guy, it's kind of a bit of a Mary Sue situation, or maybe like
Okay.
not Mary Sue, a bit of one of those like, oh, I wish it was me situations where this
Mhm.
kind of geeky guy, his grandmother used to be a monster hunter and was part of this and like kept it from him and now is bringing him in, and so he's having to stop this group and Arthur, and
Mhm.
like it's playing on Arthurian legend and stories a little bit, like people taking the different roles, and this was fun. I had a good time with this one. It almost has kind of a Mark Miller action, like style over substance, but with the substance included.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was fun. There's a volume 2 coming out because it's a
Okay.
fairly recent series. Um, yeah, or volume 2 was already out. My library didn't have it. I got this from a library, but they didn't have volume 2 right. Okay, so volume 2 just came out in December.
Hmm.
And then volume 3 is going to be out in 2021. So yeah, this is a series I will enjoy reading.
Okay.
So
Well, so are you going to be compelled to finish it then? Because you're not
right,
like,
because I'm liking it and it's not waking.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I
yeah.
think I'm gonna stick with this. But it
Okay.
it is annoying that like, yeah, it's just 2 volumes out right now. I'm like, oh, but I want to read it now. I think
Yeah.
actually all the single issues are available to me via Hoopla, so I could just
Oh, cool.
catch up with that. Hoopla's pretty good. I
Well,
used to
the
not.
the wait is what kind of killed me on Paper Girls,
Oh, sure.
because it was like a calendar year
Yeah,
between
he would write 6
arcs.
issues and then he would switch to
Yeah.
Saga and then he would go back
Yeah.
to Paper Girl. Um, yeah, no, this is one I'll stick with. So yeah, Once in Future, good time. Gets my
Nice.
thumbs up.
Okay. Well, I just finished moments before we started recording. I finished Aquaman Volume 5, The Crown Comes Down. This is by Dan Abnett, who's been writing Aquaman for a long time. Art by Riccardo Federici and
Has
others.
he
The art, yeah.
new rebirth Aquaman?
Y- Yeah.
Okay,
hmm
that's it.
The art in this was really the thing that drove it forward. It was that very like realistic pencil
Mm-hmm.
style, like you can see the pencil marks and shading that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like that. I found it really compelling. The story I enjoy, but I also feel like I've read it a million times. This is just another like Arthur is out as king, and he and Mira, their relationship. What are they gonna do? And
Yeah.
it's just I don't know. I mean, there are other Aquaman stories to tell. That's why I think I was like more forgiving of the whole like Aquaman has a magic water hand, from the 90s or whenever that was, like the whole water bearer stuff,
Right.
because it was like at least that's telling something different. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought it worked decently well. I don't think they gave it enough time.
Mm.
But that, and then when you think about like the DC animated universe where he's like this hardcore like tough monarch kind of guy.
Oh, right. But he's got the hook hand at that point.
He's got the hook hand,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, that's another take on Aquaman. I just feel
Yeah.
like this whole jockeying for the throne
Mm-hmm.
and him and Mira, like, can they really be together?
Could
Is
you
just stuff
imagine?
that,
I mean, the whole point of a monarchy is to like create some stability
yeah,
in the
yeah,
realm. And so
yeah.
the like is Atlantis ever stable?
I don't think so.
Maybe they shouldn't be a monarchy. Maybe
Maybe
they
not.
really want to do something else. I feel like the only benefit is that like when the king was gone, the his sons or daughters would become the next ruler and you wouldn't have a civil war, hopefully.
Yeah,
And that
yeah,
was why
hopefully.
it lasted as long as it did. And in
Yeah.
Atlantis, Arthur can't spend like a month on the throne.
No, no.
Anyway.
It's funny. I mean, I guess just because it's hard, maybe it's just hard. Aquaman is kind of a, like a street level. I mean, even though it's water, but I guess it's just difficult maybe to tell the like when he's just the king of everything.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like you could do it, but I don't know.
Mm.
This series is heading towards a pretty big revamp. Like the graphic novels, even though the issue numbers continue, the graphic novels are about to start over at an issue 1. So I kind of feel like this area that we're at right now is going to close.
Did you get to the Suicide Squad crossover? Sink
No,
Atlantis? I have to.
no.
That's
This
where I
is
am in Suicide Squad. I have to like read
yeah.
both.
No, this is volume 5, and then Suicide Squad is technically like 7.5.
Yeah.
Like it comes between volume 7 and 8. So I'm a few away from that. And I think that's actually the turning point where the numbering of the graphic novels hits back to 1. But this isn't a series that I read with much regularity. I just kind of like looking at the DC timeline, and when I get to a point where like Aquaman comes in, I'm like, yeah, all right. But it's nothing that I'm like, I must read the next Aquaman. But I usually enjoy it when I do. Actually, this one was 3 issues and an annual, and the annual was the standout for me. It was an Aquaman story that used that plant thing that latches onto Superman's chest and gives him the vision of like this idyllic Krypton. It was that same thing, but with Aquaman, and that actually was probably the best story in there, and that was extended, as annuals often are. It was about 50 pages. I really liked that, and the rest of the story was kind of a retread, but the art pushed it through to the next
I
level.
want to see a democratic Atlantis. Next version of Atlantis just needs to have center. I mean,
Yeah,
if it was kind of Roman, right? Where's the
yeah.
Republic? Where's the Republic of Atlantis?
Hmm. That's a great question.
Yeah, thank you.
That's a great question.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Speaking of going back to things I haven't read in a long time and liking them more this time, I went back to Hellblazer, the John Constantine series. Okay.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
No,
What did you say?
Hellblazer. Hellblazer.
Hellblazer. Okay.
Oh boy, you
Yes.
are in hospice. Um, you know what's funny? I was at the library and I picked up volume 3, and because according to Goodreads I hadn't read it, but that's because they put out some new volumes and they didn't show up, so like it was just kind of a mess. So I actually had to go back and grab volume 6 where I am, and then I had to get on Wikipedia and go through the plots of what have happened in the first 5 volumes to remember, because
Yeah.
I don't know, it's probably age or whatnot, but like I am consuming more, but I'm retaining less when it comes to comics. And so like I just don't remember a lot of the stuff that I had read. This would have been like almost 8 years ago I put down Hellblazer. I'm like, I'm gonna take a break.
Wow.
I do remember the last volume because it's when Garth Ennis took over and he did that whole storyline about John Constantine tricking the devil to cure his cancer, which they used
Sure.
in the movie.
Of course.
Well, it's one of those things where he promised his soul to a whole bunch of different demons,
Oh, okay.
and he's gonna die, so they cure his cancer, so they have time to work out the legal. um, and yeah, that they kind of play on that in the movie. But anyways, volume 6 is where I picked up, so I had to go back. I think the issue I had with Hellblazer in general was that Jamie Delano was the writer on the series for a long time. I think he did like 30 issues almost. And his stuff is very trippy. Alan Moore without the focus, if that makes any sense. And I just remember not really enjoying it that much. Like wanting to, but just thinking like, man, I do not know what's going on for most of this. But that could also just be a bad memory or whatnot. But anyways, Garth Ennis is a little bit more streamlined with this, and also seems to be a bit reserved on some of the stuff I don't like about Garth Ennis in general. The stuff that had me putting down Preacher and The Boys and whatnot. Even Steve Dillon showed up to do the art for one of these issues, and I didn't hate the art. Normally, I'm not a huge fan of Steve Dillon, but he actually had more detail and it seemed like effort in this earlier stuff. So this series is crazy. I didn't realize it, but this is the longest running Vertigo series there ever was. It ran for 300 issues before they canceled it. And like I just didn't know that. So I'm going to keep going. They haven't finished putting the series all in trades, but my local library has a bunch of them. So I'm going to at least stick with it. I'm on volume 6 right now. I'm in the middle of it. But it's thick. There's like a whole lot of issues in there. But yeah, I'm liking it more than I remember having liked it. So
Okay.
that's all. I like John
All right.
Constantine, but he's one of those characters that I haven't liked a lot of his solo stuff with. I like when he shows up in other things like Books of Magic or Swamp Thing.
That makes sense.
And whatnot.
Yeah.
So here's hoping I just really dig the rest of this.
This is your moment to shine with
Yeah.
Constantine. Maybe this is the one. I only read one more thing, but I watched several things that I want to tell you about. The last thing that I read here was Wonder Woman Tempest Tossed. So this is a YA.
Yeah.
It is a YA graphic novel. It's written by Laurie Halse Anderson, who wrote the book Speak.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So art by Lila Del Duca. So this is it's interesting. I don't know that it fully works as a Wonder Woman story. It's another one of those ones that it's a decent YA like standalone graphic, but it rarely feels like Wonder Woman to me. And the basic plot is there's a shipwreck off the shores of Themyscira, and Diana wants to go and rescue them, but it sort of pushes her beyond the bubble of protection, and she ends up getting tossed into a refugee camp. Um, and then the story just kind of goes from there. She doesn't have any connection to Paradise Island. She's stuck in this place, and she uses her knowledge of like languages and things to sort of move up in there and make the conditions better. Then she gets pulled in by some, I think it's Americans, who bring her to America, and she, continues that kind of work. And so she's more of a social justice sort of hero with occasional like heroics, but never is she in the costume or any version of that. Like it never looks like you're looking at a Wonder Woman thing. Um, so I liked it, but I don't think it really succeeds as a Wonder Woman story. Like the topic, the subject matter is good and interesting and makes total sense that Wonder Woman would be into that. But I would have liked a little bit more with an eye of making it feel like it has any connection to like Wonder Woman. And it really, to me, didn't. But, it was a good read. It looked good.
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting. I just kind of missed that element of connecting it to the Wonder Woman that we know.
Right. Okay. Yeah, these
Yep.
YA ones are so hit and miss.
That's the truth. Yeah, you never know. Well, sometimes them just going in a total different direction works, but I feel like there's this core that you have to have.
Yeah.
You have to be able to see. You have to be able to see the character that you know. You have to
Right.
be able to see the character that you're reading it for. And when they don't do that, it's just like
Yeah.
just write your own thing. Like don't say it's Wonder Woman then.
Yeah. And don't say you love me. You don't even know
Yeah.
me. You
Yeah.
know what? That's a song from the Pokemon soundtrack.
I didn't get it. I
can't
didn't
remember.
get it at
Yeah.
all.
Sorry, there's things that I think are common, and then I realized, no, wait, that's from the Pokemon the first movie soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
Music
Yeah, that's
from and
not.
inspired by.
You know what? I did get that for my son for Christmas, and he loved it.
The first movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's intense.
Yep.
I still listen to Brother My Brother. Tell
don't
me
know what that is, but
that's
I'm
the
glad.
song that plays when all the Pokemon are fighting. All the clones are
Okay.
fighting their originals, and they're like, "Tell me what are we fighting for? We've got to end this war." Yeah,
I love
Blessed
it.
Unions of the Souls.
I watched some things. Are you ready?
Yeah,
I watched Ad Astra, which I've wanted to see for a long time.
Brad,
It's on
Brad,
HBO Max, and finally I was just like, I'm gonna do it.
yep. Brad.
So I liked it. It is definitely a slow burn.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's pretty
But it's
interesting
a deep
throughout.
burn.
It is a deep burn. Yeah, you're right. You're a big fan of this movie, aren't you?
I did. I liked it. I really liked it. And after reading The Heart of Darkness recently, I realized I don't need to read The Heart of Darkness ever again. But I do like things that are doing Heart of Darkness.
Okay.
So
All right.
yeah, I think it joins Sunshine and 2001: A Space Odyssey of kind of and maybe Solaris of joining those like cool sci-fi takes of Heart of Darkness. So Brad of Darkness.
What is Sunshine?
Sunshine is the movie where they had to reignite the sun because it's dying out.
Oh, that sounds fun.
It's fantastic.
I haven't seen Solaris either.
No, it is not fun,
Oh, okay.
but it's
All right.
great.
All right. I haven't seen Solaris, but I have seen George Clooney in The Midnight Sky.
Yeah, don't tell me anything about this because I gotta watch it still.
Oh,
I added it to my list. Well, I just don't spoil anything.
well, then I don't want to. I'll wait. We can discuss it when you've seen it because
Okay.
I don't want to give anything then.
Okay. Yeah,
All right.
I was excited. I was like, oh,
Then I also. Yeah. So you tell me when you're done.
I'm done.
Are we freezing?
No,
What's happening?
we're good.
I lost you. Come back. Okay. All right. Do you want to talk Wonder Woman?
Okay. Boop.
Hit it.
I put Wonder Woman on a screen.
Okay. Well, we did sort of a back-to-back thing. Christmas Eve, we watched Wonder Woman, the original. Which, have you seen it recently?
No, not recently.
I hadn't watched it in a long time, and this time even more so. I felt like that third act is just a mess, just such a mess. It was worse than I remember. It's like the first 2/3 of it, really, until they like liberate that village in the middle and have the celebration after that. I could stop at that point and like 100% love that movie. The third act is dicey, like the big fight with that actor from Island of Dr. Moreau. Just it goes on.
David Lewis.
There you go.
Yeah.
It just goes on, and her desperate love for Steve Trevor. I don't know. It just it doesn't end as strongly as it starts. Do you? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I haven't watched it recently, but when I think about that movie, I don't think about Ares, God of War.
No, yeah, that's true.
I don't think
That's
about that
true.
very often. And uh, when I think about that, it feels like it fits in with like the Snyder verse
Yeah, I
of
suppose that's true.
cloudy
Yeah.
stuff. Like the whole, it matches the dark side crap. I mean, it's kind of, like the best third acts have been like Aquaman and Shazam
Mm.
so
Yeah.
far. I mean, I guess
Yeah,
you could
I
probably
agree with that.
say even Man of Steel had a pretty, it had a third act that you could
It had a
follow and stuff.
climax. It
Yeah.
definitely had a climax at
The
the end. Yeah.
but like Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad and the first Wonder Woman, their third acts get very messy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. And you said you watched 84 right on Christmas Day, right in the middle of the
yeah,
day, like a childless couple that you are.
in the eve, we watched it in the eve around
Oh,
six
okay. All right.
o'clock
All right.
with
All right.
dinner. Yeah, man. Tell you what, did I? There was this moment where I was like, oh, it'd be cool if we were watching this on the big screen, and then I was like, oh wait, no one else is in this room but us.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
great. The only
That's
thing
for sure.
was my two dogs would walk by every now and then. I'm like, man, if that had been the biggest issue with
Yeah.
movie theaters, that every now and then a golden retriever would walk by and want some attention, I would have gone to a
Yeah.
movie every day.
We watched it. We watched it super late on Christmas because we just refused to start it until we were sure beyond a shadow of a doubt that our son was
Yeah,
asleep.
sure.
Because the last thing I wanted to do
Yeah.
was be like a half hour in and have to pause
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So
I could
so
use
we
a
waited
use a
to
better
watch it all the
TV.
way
I
through.
think I'm not against upgrading my
Okay.
TV someday.
All right. Well, I'm
Um,
glad you're open to it.
but yeah, I got a sound bar for my birthday this year,
Oh, that's
and
right.
that's
Yeah.
made like all sound problems I had no issue. So I know there are people who probably maybe who don't have that sound quality. So I feel bad because like it is a movie that I would have been very excited to. This was supposed to come out last December. This was
I
supposed to come
know.
out a year ago when we could have seen it in
Yeah.
theaters, but they moved
I
it
know.
so it wouldn't compete with Star Wars.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think my experience of it would have been different had it been in theaters. Like I can say that. Like I liked being able to watch it at home, but I do think I probably would have left the theater feeling more warmly than I did like getting off of my couch. But take me through it. What did you think?
Listen, I liked it a
Yeah.
lot.
Hmm.
Got me emotional at parts. The, but it's also very weird in a lot of different ways. But you know what? I'd rather something be weird, interesting, and still good like this,
Hmm.
and get more stuff that's like Ang Lee's Hulk than getting another Spider-Man Homecoming, I guess.
Yeah.
Is how I
Okay.
feel. Because or another Suicide Squad, which is just
Mhm.
like these are all the things that work for other movies. Let's do it here, here, and here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily a perfect film, but I think
Mhm.
it just has a vision and it's going for it. And it's probably the best version of that vision. But a lot of the stuff with Maxwell Lord, when you get to the end, you're like, wow, we're really committing to this concept. And
Yeah.
that's a little,
Yeah.
those
That's
things
true.
are strange. And I also think Barbara Minerva, I feel like her story's a little rushed.
It is. It's thin.
I feel,
Yeah.
well, maybe not her story's rushed, but the switch feels very quick. But also
Yeah.
at the same time, it isn't because she's been a woman in the real world her whole life. So all the
That's true.
scenes where we have people being like, "Hey, beautiful," that's just been going on her entire life. So just because I haven't seen 2 hours of that, you like bring it in like, oh well, she's been
Yeah.
having to listen to this crap
Yeah.
for however old she is. So that change is quick, but it's also a change that probably has been building for long before we see her in this movie.
Yeah.
Boy,
I can see that.
that is so
that didn't-
obnoxious. I don't know if you like that made you angry, but just every time either Diana or Barbara or any of the women in this movie walked past the guy, they were like, "Hey there, what's going on?" It's like, oh gosh, are we like this? Are we all like this?
So I mean I hate to be a bummer, but like I didn't like it, and it was weird because I didn't entertain for a moment that I wouldn't like it. So I was like, oh, I don't have any place for this kind of feeling because I wasn't skeptical of it. I wasn't like, oh, this is good luck and nothing. I was just like ready to 100% love it. So like as it was going on and I was very thrown by that.
Oh.
I think I agree with what you're saying though. I mean, it has a vision and it stuck to it. I mean, I can certainly I can certainly give it that. I I was not quite sure a lot of the times, like the opening scene in the, well, the Amazon scene, but then the opening scene in the mall, I was like, oh, this is not what I was expecting. I just I wasn't expecting that at all. I have to say I didn't like all of the lasso play. I didn't like that her primary source of like fighting was the cartoon lasso. Like that was a weak spot for me. And I also didn't, as much as I love Chris Pine, didn't like that method of bringing him back, having him like inhabit this guy's body. I thought that just added a real like creepy element to that didn't quite gel for me. Did you like the Pine resurrection or the Steve Trevor resurrection?
Yeah, I did because of what happens later and stuff. So I got into that. Me and my wife got into a fight about whether or not Chris Pine is attractive enough to be with Gal Gadot, and she thinks he's the least attractive of the Chris's.
Oh, okay.
So no argument about whether or not Chris Hemsworth and Gal Gadot should hang out, but Chris Pine, she might be a little out of his league. He probably
Okay.
would win
All
her.
right.
I mean, he obviously wins her over with personality, and that's important.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
he also seems
They're,
so much older.
Yeah, that's
But,
true. He does. I think their chemistry is just
yeah.
so great.
No,
that,
their
like,
chemistry's
it was just
good. Yeah.
it was just fun to see that again.
You know,
It just ultimately just didn't quite cut it for me. I thought it was strange too to do, not that we needed another neck snapping in the DC extended universe, but I was kind of surprised that we would go for a Wonder Woman Maxwell Lord story and like not touch that at all. Like that's the most famous thing about like those two head to head.
yeah,
So
I'm fine
I
that
thought,
that's not there.
no, I agree. I'm not sure why use Maxwell
I
Lord
don't
like if you're
understand.
not going to address that at all.
I don't understand why it's so impossible for DC to figure out Superman, and just the fact that he's like a good guy who likes
Yeah.
being good and makes
Yeah.
good decisions, when
Right.
Wonder Woman is over here doing the exact same thing, and nobody's. It doesn't seem to be a problem for Patty Jenkins to figure out how to make Diana good. Then why is
Yeah.
it so hard for everybody to do that with Superman? Because
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, she acts how I normally expect Superman to act, trying to talk things out first, apologizing when things don't work. It's so strange. She even at one point has a Superman stance.
Yeah, she does. Lots of Superman poses,
yeah,
with
so-
the flights and everything.
I mean, that's not me upset about Wonder Woman. That's me upset about Warner Brothers and Snyder and everybody not being able to figure out Superman when
Mm-hmm.
Wonder Woman's leading the way with that stuff. But yeah, no, I liked it. Normally, I'm kind of like, oh well, where's the big like superhero fighting stuff? And when we get that, my brain actually is like, oh, I don't care so much about this. And then when we get into the weird, very emotionally led climaxes and stuff, I'm like, oh, I'm weirdly into this. I think it gets weird and doesn't necessarily like. There's stuff that works and doesn't work at the end. I just think it's a weird film, but I would much
Yes.
rather defend stuff like this than some other stuff. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the Wonder
Yeah.
Woman movies are like just kind of weird in a lot of ways, but I also like that she's this person who can end a movie and end a supervillain without punching him through walls and then also snapping his neck like a certain blue Boy Scout.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's weak elements. Honestly, I thought I was having issues with it as the first act went, but then the second act and things start getting kind of crazy, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm in it.
Okay.
So
Nice. Well, I'm glad you liked it. Like I
the
said, I was
opening
really
stuff in
surprised.
in,
Themyscira?
Themyscira went on forever.
It did, and
It did.
that was one where it ended, and I wasn't really sure what we were trying to say with that extended scene.
It's not something they actually call back to very strong. Like there's quoting from it almost verbatim, but it doesn't really land. It's more something that like we just remember, and like the idea that there's no shortcuts. I apply that to like Minerva and Maxwell Lord, and so like. And even some stuff that Deanna's going through in this, like I connect it without the movie really successfully calling back to it. Great. Watching a man get his teeth kicked out was painful, even when he deserved it. And then
Yeah.
I'm just watching the movie. I'm like, there's some teeth on that street right now.
Yeah.
I thought Pedro Pascal was very good, but I just think, I think the end wrapped up a bit too neatly with some of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I liked Kristen Wiig more than I thought I would. But also that kind of just goes by pretty quickly. Like,
Yeah.
and there's some stuff in this, where I wasn't sure what it was. Certain things are going on with Deanna's powers, and I thought it was connected to Cheetah, and then I realized it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was connected to other things, and that's how
Yeah.
I picked. There's a lot of Spider-Man 2 DNA in this movie. I think a lot of the whole, like, am I not supposed to have what I want,
Right.
kind of, and even Spider-Man starts depowering in that movie. So
and frankly, I don't think a musical interlude with a freeze frame would have been out of place in this movie.
sure, I wish the 80s like all the promotions in this had were 80s music. All the posters have this crazy colorful 80s thing. I wish there was a bit more of that in the movie. But
yeah, I mean, you have the mall, and then you have like the Chris Pine fashion session, which to me felt a little forced. It was just like, let's put Chris Pine in goofy outfits. It didn't really feel.
I thought we were gonna do a Brother Eye kind of thing, and that never happened.
Well, that's the other thing. I thought, like, it's weird
to call it Lord without Brother Eye.
Yeah. Yes, but I think also that would have tied in so well with like themes from the book 1984.
Yeah, Big Brother Eye is watching you.
Yes, and I thought with all of the like the gradient like TV images and just the logo and the look of, I really thought we were going to be going for some of that like government sort of 1984 thing. So I think it's really weird if you're just going to pick any random day in the 80s. I would have said any day, but any number but 84.
Sure. Yeah.
If you're not going to touch that, because I think it would have fit so well in a Wonder Woman movie that to call it 84 and not do that was kind of like, well, okay.
What was I going to say that I liked? I liked something. Pedro Maxwell Lord, Pedro Pascal, not brother. What was I saying before the Brother Eye stuff? Oh, Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess the thing is, I think about this. This has kind of like an identity, like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man films, like Ang Lee's Hulk, like Tim Burton's Batman. Like, it just feels very, or even Chris Nolan's Batman films. It feels very much like creator driven as opposed to the other stuff. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Now the next thing to look forward to is the extended Justice League hell that's ahead of us. So,
Right. Yeah. I like I said, I just was not prepared to not like it. So when we finish it, I was just kind of like, huh, okay. Because I also feel like
I was going to compare it to Dark Phoenix and Captain Marvel, and there was another movie that recently, maybe it was New Mutants, but like Captain Marvel and both Dark Phoenix are set in the 90s, but like they do nothing with that setting, really. Yeah. And I do feel like 84 kind of follows in that tradition while still doing a little bit more. It's too bad, I just talked about X-Men Apocalypse previously on X-Men, and that's in the 80s, and there's some cool moments in that movie with the 80s. It's just like, if you're gonna do these contemporary things, it's weird that like X-Men First Class did it so well. Like, there's no mistaking where that is. Even Days of Future Past, you get like the 80s sensibility throughout, but like, I don't know, like First Class did it so well. Why is it hard to just like take it even up to the end of that movie? Maybe it's because First Class brought in like contemporary politics in their setting. So it was the 60s, but it was also the Cuban Missile Crisis was part of the plot. Right. So maybe unless you're doing stuff like that, like unless Wonder Woman is at the Berlin Wall, or I kept waiting for a moment where Chris Pine's like, so are we still allies with the Russians?
But that's the thing. This is what I don't understand, because like, again, if you're going to choose the 80s as a setting, but have it not be relevant to the plot at all, what a weird choice. And it also doesn't, like Wonder Woman being such a big like public spectacle also doesn't really gel with what's established in the extended universe.
She isn't nobody really see like the mall. She's moving fast and she breaks the cameras and people kind of tell the story. But like I was thinking that too during the mall scene. But at the end they're like, they say it was some woman and that matches report.
No,
so like she's never on TV, which I think is it because like it is hard to because she's not supposed to be known. No one's supposed to know who she is by the time we did Batman v Superman. But also, the biggest problem these movies have, any of these DC movies, is having to work around the Batman v Superman verse.
No, it's true. So. It's true. I guess to my point, I just feel like had they set this concurrent with like Auqaman or just anything post Justice League, it would have changed nothing. Like nothing would have had to have been different.
Yeah, there wasn't like any 80s music really.
No, in like the landscape of the 80s didn't add to it. It wasn't like, no, it has to be pre-cell phone. Like this would have worked better with cell phone, So it's just, to me, that's just kind of it's weird to have that out there and not have it be part of the thing.
What's weird about the DC movies, and this isn't really a negative thing. You can watch the MCU, in each movie, I feel like you can find the issues or storylines from the comics and know what they're doing. Like Winter Soldier, it's called Winter Soldier. Ragnarok, there's Planet Hulk in there. So like you can find the stories and be like, oh, they use this, this, and this. With a lot of the DC movies, it's not really there.
No.
They don't really do that. And I kind of thought they were doing a bit of the Dennis O'Neil, Diana Prince stuff bit, but they don't really do that very much. So it's interesting.
No, but it did make me want to reread that arc.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Like something about it did kind of trigger that in my mind as well.
But like back with Chris Nolan's films, you can be like, oh well, this is The Killing Joke, this is Long Halloween, this is Batman Year One. But since then, it's weird that it's the extended universe that's more comic booky, that's less like that. Because like Aquaman isn't really, it's just an Aquaman story. It's not really like. It's hard just like, you just read an Aquaman. You could just read the one that you were just reading and match it with the movie. Same with Shazam, Birds of Prey, even the first Wonder Woman movie.
I mean, Shazam is pretty tight on that Jeff Johns Shazam.
Is it?
I mean, that's a pretty close adaptation, but that's the one outlier. Right. Everything else you're right.
But I was thinking like with Wonder Woman and even Man of Steel's it's interesting that this very comic booky DC universe is less comic book related.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know. But maybe that's Maybe that's part of the reason why people like it so much. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be.
Sorry I didn't like it, man. I had a good time. The movie made me cry.
Boy, no. I really wanted to like that post-credit scene too, and I just.
Oh, I thought that was fun. I'll tell you what. It's the problem with having work done on your face. I've been watching different actors of both genders do that, and you realize like your face needs movement, and that stuff just takes it away. Without movement, it's strange. So, anyway.
Yeah, it kind of derailed Kenny Rogers' career, didn't it? All right, I have a very thematically appropriate quarter bin today. I'm just going to run through it quickly, and that is a Wonder Woman. Number 265. This is Wonder Woman's story from the actual 80s. And you can tell that because of the date, but it also has a full page or double page spread advertising the upcoming film 1941 by Steven Spielberg.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Averts.
And the back cover, Star Trek The Motion Picture.
Yeah. Oh, I got the 6 original Star Trek movies on Blu-ray for Christmas.
That's fun.
My mom got me those. I've got the original movie director's cut on DVD. I'm just going to put it in that collection as well. So,
like I saved mine as well. It is a much better.
Like I care if the first Star Trek movie has that like pristine Blu-ray quality.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. I mean, it is all it's a visual like scrapbook essentially. So maybe you do care. Anyway, Wonder Woman number 265 from 1980 by Jerry Conway and Jose Delbo. This is called The Land of the Scaled Gods.
Oh, sure.
It's an untold story of Wonder Woman's days with NASA.
Yeah, it looks like she's in the Savage Lands.
Yeah, it does. Anyway, Diana's late getting back to the space shuttle after a visit to Paradise Island. I know. She attempts to just fly in unnoticed.
10 o'clock.
That's pretty much what they're like. However, Radar is picking her up, and they're like, oh, is Superman in town? I don't know. In the launch bay, Conrad is telling Jansen that unless Diana Prince is here in 2 minutes, the launch is scrubbed. So Jansen, obviously furious. Diana comes in from like the side room and it just pretends like she's always been there. And they're like, oh, well, I guess she's here after all. Anyway, Jansen is quizzing her about why she was late as they blast off. And she contemplates if she's doing the right thing by having this dual identity. Can she be both Diana Prince, astronaut, and Wonder Woman? That's what she's not sure
I
about.
think she can.
Well, her thoughts are interrupted by a blue energy bolt that knocks the shuttle off course. And luckily, Jansen is knocked out, so she can strip down to the Wonder Woman costume, which I would feel like just stay in the, just in case, just stay in the spacesuit. But she sheds the spacesuit, goes out in the vacuum of space, just as Wonder Woman, realizes they're being pulled back towards Earth. So she grabs Jansen and just like does some orbital skydiving and just like jumps off of the spaceship and heads back to Earth, which is a pretty big use of Wonder Woman powers there.
Mm-hmm.
She lands in what she thinks is the Rocky Mountains, only when she's looking around, she sees a giant dinosaur. So she's wondering if this is an illusion, because something like this happened a few issues back.
Which dinosaur?
But no, it's T-Rexy, but it's clearly like a take on it. Yeah.
Like a Carnotaurus?
She remembers. Could be. It's got a weird fringe. It's a made-up dinosaur, definitely.
Well, is it an Allosaurus?
Do you want to see? I'll find it for you.
It's got a weird fringe?
Yeah.
What era is she in?
Can you see that?
Oh, okay, yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, it's nonsense. I'll get to that. I'll get to what era she's in. She believes this is one of those pockets of the world where dinosaurs still exist. And this is something that Wonder Woman would come across in the Golden Age. So it's a throwback to that.
Mm-hmm.
She makes her way out of this cavern that she's in and finds a whole prehistoric world.
Nice.
Elsewhere,
Sign me up.
We cut to Batman, who's cruising in the Batboat, going after the Professor Plutonium.
Uh-huh.
Professor Plutonium is after America's gold reserve.
Here we go.
And if it's gold that he's after, Batman has just the thing. Hostess Twinkies! Yeah. Plutonium is distracted because the sea gave him an appetite, and Batman hopes he also has a taste for prison food.
Yeah, well, they don't get Hostess in prison, so...
They don't. Well, they probably do. You just have to trade cigarettes for it. Anyway, at the lip of the cave, Wonder Woman is met by Donald Gregory Lute, a professor of paleontology. Their conversation's interrupted by a giant pterodactyl type thing, which Wonder Woman bests in a hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah, sure.
She fights him up. Once settled, they're looking after Jansen, who clearly has a concussion, so that's problematic. Dr. Lute tells Wonder Woman that he was trapped there after discovering it while making a documentary. All his other crew was killed. And it turns out this undiscovered stretch along the mountaintops is untouched by man. It contains creatures from every prehistoric era. So, yeah, it could be anything.
Mammoths?
Yeah,
giant sloth?
They're all there. Wonder Woman wonders why Dr. Lute never attempted to escape, only to have her question answered by the appearance of the masters of the hidden land, the Scaled Gods, to be continued.
Oh.
So this is the kind of thing that was going on with Wonder Woman in the 80s.
Yeah.
So
this is what you wanted in the movie.
It is weird and goofy, so maybe that's more on point. There's a backup story, which I'm not going to get into, but there's a backup story with Wonder Girl, where she's like cruising through the 80s. It was actually kind of fun. This made me want to go and like find this on the app and read the surrounding story, because I have no idea what happens, and I also didn't remember that Wonder Woman was apparently an astronaut for a while.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that. I've never heard that. I've never heard like, oh, wait a second, that's Diana. She used to work for NASA.
No, and this was presented as an untold tale, so I don't really know where this falls, like continuity-wise, because it's acting like, back when she was an astronaut. I don't know. Anyway, that's my Wonder Woman quarter bin pick for the week.
Oh, nice. Congratulations. Yeah.
What are you getting into for next time, Eric? You got something on the list?
So I had checked out Constantine 6 and 7, and they were big trades. So I'll just try to be reading the Hellblazer comics. I returned some stuff without having finished it because I was like, boy, it's taken me like a month to pick this up. I don't think I really want to read it right now. Yeah. I had Rick Remender's...
Oh, okay. I had Mr. Wicked and Divine.
I had Rick Remender's Low and Kieran Gillian's Die, and I was just like, I'm going to put these back and do something else. I don't really know. I mean, I'm reading New Mutants. Again, like, I feel a bit adrift with X-Men, so I've got New Mutants that I'm reading. When that's caught up, maybe I go back and read like all this Silver Age, Stan Lee, X-Men stuff that I missed, like those gaps there, and read that.
Okay. All
and
right.
then go back to reading the 90s issues that I've read a lot of stuff from the X-Men in the 90s, but there's other stuff, but also the app isn't full.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not having the DC app right now takes out some of that stuff, because I was like, oh wait, I wanted to read the question, and
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for my copy of what's his name again? The guy who wrote Batman: Rise of the Batman. Tyron.
Oh, yeah, James.
Yeah, James Tyron the Third. I want to read his Batman run, so I'm still waiting on that from the trade, because somebody has it out in the library and it's overdue.
Return it. Oh my gosh.
Turn it in. People are waiting.
They're waiting.
So yeah, I feel a bit adrift. So I gotta. I don't know. I gotta get some focus.
I get it. I might follow up on some more Auqaman just because I'm right here.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I might go back to the 90s a little bit and read some Steel. There's a little bit of Steel on the app. So I might check that out. I also have a new Betty and Veronica. It's a new YA graphic novel that just came out that I'm going to read. I haven't read one of the newer Archies in quite a while, so
that's
planning on checking that out. Yep. All right. Well,
I went to my library's page to see what's new this week, to see if but we were closed.
Yeah.
So maybe nothing. I don't see any new comics. Every now and then they'll be like, and next up we have Wonder Woman, Dead Earth, and I'm like, before it's still in processing and I've already put it on hold. So you just check. You just check that stuff. So
you just gotta check. You gotta know how to check.
Check my check.
Yeah. I need a mic check.
Yeah. We finished Conan Without Borders over on HBO Max. I need to watch something superhero-y, I think, as well. Now that I got the New Mutants and stuff, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have to rewatch New Mutants. Anyways, let's end this.
You gotta dig into it.
I closed the drive, so you read the thing we're supposed to say.
Oh, sure. Outside of the Radio Meanwhile Network, I'm the host of How's Things, the official podcast and radio show of the David A. Howe Public Library. You can find it at soundcloud.com/allthebooks or anywhere you get your podcasts. Coming up, I have an interview with Don Daneman, who was the original member of the band The Circle, who toured with the Beatles for many years, worked with Simon and Garfunkel. So really interesting interviews. You can come find that there. I have an upcoming interview with Jason Fry, author of many a Star Wars novel, some Minecraft stuff, his Jupiter Pirates series. Yeah, all the encyclopedias, and we do talk quite a bit about those encyclopedias. So you can find that at How's Things right here on the Radio Meanwhile Network. I'm the co-host of 90210 Here We Go and 90210 Rewatch Podcast. So come check us out.
I do Previously on X-Men with Hillary Gunning, and we talk about X-Men. I do 90s Music's Got Me Like with Kendra Mickles, and we talk 90s music.
Yeah.
So I'm stuck in the 90s.
Fun. Yeah.
Gonna do a 90s podcast where we just look at book art from the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And then
that sounds fun.
Do one where we talk about the different spider attacks that happened during the 90s.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty intense.
Yeah, 8-legged 90s. That's what we'll call it. All right, well, that's it. You can just find more episodes of Comic Book Coffee Break on YouTube at youtube.com/duskversus-tweak and radiomeanwhile.com. Have a good New Year?
Happy New Year!
Yeah. See you in 2021, maybe.
Yeah, we'll see.
Just kidding. We will. Maybe. Bye, everybody.